In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the Shift V menu. Now, I'm going to be using Blender 4.2. I tried 4.4, but I think one of the features in the Shift V menu is bugged. I mean, this one, face fit, doesn't work as intended. And I really want to show you all these alignments because they're crucial for working with Boxcutter, okay? So let me just grab a cube here and let's just grab a chamfer here. Let's just slap another chamfer here. Perfect. So let's say I wanted to cut this cube with a box cutter. I'm going to be using the basic object alignment, which is going to be using the surface geo to run the cutters, and it's set to local, which means local orientation of the object. So in this case, our local orientation is the same as global, right? So GZ, GY, GX. If I'm going to rotate it, my local is going to change to, to this one, right? But for now, let's stick to the local orientation. That's the same as global orientation. So if I wanted to run a cut here, everything is peachy, but I'm gonna have problems if I want to run a cut, for example, on this face. See, I can't really do it. Or even worse, try to align to one of these edges. So now that's where these options come in, and they're really handy. So first of all, if you want to align to nearest or longest edge, and by the way, these two options you may want to try sometimes when the other one doesn't work, because Boxcutter may struggle with computing which edge is the longest, especially when you're going to run a cut through an edge, right? Because you will divide it with a cut. Do you see what I mean? So the length of the edge can change. But we're going to start with the nearest edge. So when you select this option, Boxcutter will try to align you to the nearest edge of the cut you are placing. So the position you're cutting is going to be essential. If I'm going to cut here, it's going to align to, the straight edge. But if I'm going to run a cut here, you see that's going to align to this edge. Now, if I'm going to switch, for example, to this edge, it's going to realign again. So it's dynamic, which is really helpful. Now, the longest edge, obviously, is going to be aligning to the longest edge on this mesh. So let's just go back here and see if it's going to work. So Shift V and switch to longest edge. And now you see it's going to be, even though we're far away from this edge, right? This is the longest edge. It's a diagonal edge. So it's longer than these two, obviously. So even though we're far away from this edge, we can align, properly to this. Let me just reset this wedge cut. We can align properly to this angle. Now, like I said, if you're going to have a cut here through this edge, let's just try this. And I'm going to run a cut through this edge, so it's going to make it shorter. Let's see if this is going to still work, right? So longest edge, and you see now it's not aligning. So when you're going to slice the longest edge with a boolean, this will stop working. So what you may want to do, you may want to run cuts on the longest edge last. So you're going to have this reference until you need it, you know what I mean? So first run cuts around this edge, and then run on this longest edge, because you will lose this reference, okay? Now the face orientation or face fit is interesting. In local view, you see, I can't really align myself to these faces. It's just going to align to the local orientation. And if I rotate this cube, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to rotate with the cube. Now the face fit is a bit different. It's going to allow you to do that. So if I'm going to run a cut here, you see, I'm going to be able to align it to a specific face most of the time, right? See that it's aligning my cut to this face here, right? If I switch to local, it should be a little bit different. There you go. See, the orientation now is a bit different. So the face fit aligns to the normals of the face, whereas local aligns to the local orientation of the object. What you need to do is just go ahead and play with these settings, and you're going to get the hang of it very quickly. Now view alignment, okay, is going to run a cut from view. So wherever you're looking from, it's going to run a cut. And you see, the problem here is that we're not in orthographic view, right? So the cuts are going to be a bit wobbly, not that accurate. So what you can do is you can set this one auto auto, right? So it's going to automatically jump to orthographic view and cut. Right? Again, jump to orthographic view and cut. So when you start drawing, it's going to jump to ortho. So that's what this does. Now, view align in auto is what I use. Okay, I don't use this one because it's annoying. I use this one. Let's say I'm in perspective mode and I'm looking at my model and I want to cut from the side. I'm not in orthographic, I'm in perspective. I will switch manually to orthographic and then I will run a cut. And you can see that view align in auto, which means if I'm in orthographic view, it's going to align automatically, right? Like this, boom. And you can also set this function here because it's the same menu. So you can click this one and it's going to do exactly that. Switch to view and align in auto, okay? Next one's gonna be cursor alignment. Now, let me just turn this off. Cursor alignment is interesting. I don't use this, but if you combine this with machine tools, it could become powerful, and let me tell you why. So if I'm gonna create a cube here, and I'm going to rotate it, and I'm going to apply the rotation, okay, so apply rotation. Now, my cube local orientation was reset, right? If I go to end panel, you will see that my rotation is set to 0, 0, 0, so it's basically global, right? Because I applied it, so I reset these values, right? If I go back here, you see that my rotation is, that's a local rotation. If I apply this, it's gonna reset it and it's gonna become global, the same as global, right? So now I'm kind of buggered here because, I can't really run local orientation cuts because I don't have local orientation, right? You see, if I'm going to run a cut on this mesh, it's just in global orientation because the cube is in global orientation. So now what you can do, you can align cursor to that face using machine tools. And if you do that, cursor orientation is going to inherit the rotation of the face. So if you look here closely, cursor is perfectly aligned to the global orientation. But if I'm going to move it to the face with machine tools, Shift S and to face, you will see the cursor will align itself. And if you do not want to do this, if you do not want your cursor to align with machine tools, you need to hold Alt. So watch this. So what you want to do is press Shift S, just tap it, then hold Alt and to face, and now you see the cursor stays oriented according to global orientation. So again, Shift S to face and it's gonna flip. Now since the cursor is aligned to the face, I can use cursor orientation with my cutter, and that's what this will do. The reason why I'm not using it is because I prefer to use object and align to specific edges. I really never use these two, okay? Never, even once. And obviously you can change the, the axis here, which is going to shift the alignment of the cuts. Now the last one here, the world orientation, obviously is going to be following world orientation, which means, the Z, X, and Y, and they simply don't shift. I just use these two and I use them all the time in every single project. I absolutely love this feature. Now the gizmo is going to simply show you the orientation of the world, the global orientation, and I never really use it. I really don't see a point of this, but there you go. You can turn it on and off. I've never used it even once. So again, these two options are incredibly useful. And in fact, I rarely go to view alignment. I mostly work in object because I can still, turn it on here and turn on view alignment in ortho. So I can align myself in ortho and simply cut, right? So I honestly never use these options. Very rarely I'm going to be using view alignment, but this one I'm using literally all the time. It's so useful. So play with this. This is one of the most powerful features of Boxcutter. Now obviously you can adjust all these settings here in the top, so you can go here to alignment pi right here, and you can also do this through the D menu here, but honestly it's just too many clicks. I prefer to just go to Shift V and the menu is going to appear where my cursor is, which is really convenient because that's where I'm working and I have to travel all the way here or just go to another menu within a menu, which is just too much work, right? So that would be everything you need to know about the view alignment menu for Boxcutter. In next video, we're going to be talking about some of the options here. We're going to just simply re-emphasize what you can find here, what's useful, what's not that useful. And like I said, the rest is going to be discussed in the advanced section. and after that we're gonna move on to hard ups. I'll see you in the next video.